Any questions?
Yes. About the last notice due tomorrow, the resistor and series and parallel. On the back sheet, for the analysis, it says percent error for current out of resistors. I think we chose resistor 1. I think you said that.
Yes.
How would we go about doing that?
Define percent error?
No, the current out of the resistors.
It depends, but all right. I'm gonna leave that up because that's the question that we were gonna answer before. All right, so if you've got a power supply, resistor, as you can see in my drawing. So glad they replaced the whiteboard.
Did they
This is so much better.
Did they actually?
When they put this in.
Oh.
You can see how well it works.
Oh.
All right, so if I go there first, no, it won't let me. What if I go there first? Great.
So we went from a color deciding whiteboard to a whiteboard that now doesn't work.
It's not a whiteboard, it's an electronic, it's a smart board.
So we went from a smart board that chooses its own colors,
Actually, we went from a, probably long enough ago, chalkboard
chalkboard,
to a whiteboard,
to whiteboard.
to a smart board that decides what color it wants to do, to a smart board that doesn't do anything.
Awesome sauce. Technology at its best.
Have you taught with chalkboards before?
Yeah, I've done chalkboards. You can tell the teachers, because the teachers had chalk marks on their pants here. Well, I threw it on the ground, but I don't think that's really gonna make much difference there. Okay.
I'll take a picture of it for safety. Well, obviously,
Let's see if I can, yeah, but,
worth a shot.
all right. So if I have a power supply here with resistors in series, then I find the current coming out of the power supply by finding the equivalent resistance. So if that's 5, 4 ohms, 12 volts, my equivalent resistance is 9 ohms. So the current coming out of the power supply would be 12 divided by 9. Doing the fancy math here, 1.3. All right. If it's in series, then whatever's coming out of the power supply has to be going through those. I assume that's not the one where you got the issues.
No.
Okay. Parallel is actually just plain old parallel, is simpler. Uh, 4 ohms, 5 ohms. Kirchhoff's voltage rule, whatever I gain across here, I'm gonna have to lose along the way. And I have 2 paths here, so if I gain 12 going across this, I lose 12 going across that, or lose 12 going across that. So I know the drop here is 12 volts. And so my current across here would be 12 divided by 4, or 3 amperes going across that, or 2.4 amperes going across that. Still good? I assume it's the third one that gives you the.
Yeah, I'm just having a little trouble processing how to do that and then get percent error from.
All right. So when I've got the parallel structure and in series with a single resistor, so 4 ohms, 5 ohms, 3 ohms. First thing I would do is find the equivalent resistance. So for that, 1/4 plus 1/5 is 1/, well, let's call it R45. That's 0.45 is equal to 1 over that, so my equivalent resistance is 1/0.45, which is something absolutely spectacular. Is that 29ths? I think that's right. If it's not, pretend. So I've broken it down to, I've got my 12-volt power supply there, I got my 29ths resistor there, and I've got my 3 ohm resistor there. I now have a series, I would add them together. So 47/9 is my equivalent resistance for the whole thing. From that, I can now figure out the current flowing out of the power supply. So 12 divided by 47/9 is about 1.5. I'm about to get something more precise here, I believe.
$2.29.
2.29. Okay. Oh. Yeah, I didn't see anything. All right. So it's about 2.29 amperes. That's what's flowing out of the power supply. That has to be what's flowing across this parallel structure and what's flowing across this single resistor. Now, across the parallel structure, it's splitting, so I know that whatever flows across there and flows across there, the sum has to be 29ths. Across the 3, well, it has no choice. It's gonna split, come back together again, so whatever's flowing out of here, or sorry, across here, has to be what's flowing in or out of the power supply. So I know this is 2.29 amperes. Well, this tells me now that my potential drop across here, so delta V, would be 3 times that. So 6.77 volts. So if I gain 12 volts here and I lose 6.77 volts there, I can then figure out how much voltage I lose across here. Sorry, how much potential I lose across there, which would be 5.23. Well, it's the same loss no matter which path I take. So that divided by 4 gives me that current. That divided by 5 gives me that current. So far, so good?
Yeah.
I'm looking at Jack, because the question could go to anybody. So far, so good? And then define percent error. So let's say you found that it should be 2.29 amperes, and you actually got 2.7 amperes, which is farther off than I would expect, but, so this is your experimental value, and this is your ideal. Or for you psychic experiments, the id.
So for that problem, you just sort of want to set up the circuit and do the math, and then you should take the one that we measured with the meter thing, the orange thing.
Yep.
And then whatever the math says, and put it in.
Yes, you're comparing those two, and so it's the difference divided by the id.
And the one we measured is the experimental, and the math is the actual, or is the actual the one we measured with the meter thing?
All right, so as in it's experimental minus actual divided by actual.
Yeah.
Actual is probably better wording if you're looking for a value like speed of light, something that is already established.
Mm-hmm.
Since the current is not already established here, it depends upon the stuff that we stick into it. Probably experimental minus ideal divided by ideal would be the way to go.
And ideal is the math one?
Yes. Yep.
that answer your questions?
Yes.
Other questions?
I potentially have a question.
Yes.
So,
I potentially have an answer.
so when we're finding the ideal equivalent resistance for like the AB, the BC, the CD, and the DA, that makes sense. What I don't exactly understand is how we're gonna find it for the diagonals where it's AC and then BD.
Ah, for that one. Live. All right. So if I have, of course, situation like this, and we'll just say 1, 2, 3, and 4 those. If I put the probes here and here, it's like I have a power supply set up there. This would be the equivalent of, I got, it's coming in, it splits, I got 1 here, I've got 4, 3, 2. Those are equivalent. So I'd add the series, that would be in parallel with the 1.
One, yep.
Okay. If I put it on the diagonals, that's not diagonal. Put it on the diagonals, where that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, current comes in and it splits. It's gonna split between 1 and 4. And then after 1, it's gonna hit, has to hit 2. There's no junction in between 1 and 2. And for between 3, from 4, it has to go across 3. And then it joins up again.
Okay, so it's just gonna be, so 2 in series, and then both of those are gonna be in parallel.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Makes sense.
And for those who blanked on the test, that's the approach you take.
Oh, that was the first warm-up question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, at least this correction's gonna be easier.
Other questions?
Did you grade the tests over the break or
I
not?
did not.
Okay.
Let them have a break.
Totally green.
Fair.
I'll
I
grade
just-
them when you start fasting during the day.
Well, then start grading.
Okay. All right. The other thing I had written up here before, actually sort of switching over to magnetism.